Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to our little corner of the internet here on YouTube. As you know, here at Datacove, we're empowered by all things data and analytics, and we also love partnerships with lots of local, particularly local, trusted collaborators. And I'm really, really happy to be here today with Tom, founder of BetaShift, and we're going to talk all things AI and marketing. Before we do that, Tom, welcome. Really good to have you. It'd be great if you can tell everybody a bit more about yourself and your background.
Thanks, Jeremy. Great to be here. Thanks for inviting me on. Yeah, so as you mentioned, I'm founder of a business called BetaShift. We are a marketing and AI consultancy. So we kind of have two different service arms. One is around marketing strategy or digital marketing in particular, and then enablement. And the other side is around AI strategy and consultation and AI training, which I actually do with a partner called Simon, who also runs an agency called Curated Digital. So my business was formed sort of middle of last year after exiting a performance marketing agency that I co-founded back in 2018, based in London. We grew that business from about 5 people to 80 people in the space of about 6 years. And I left that business at the end of last year, had a bit of time to think about what I wanted to do, tried to find something really sexy outside of marketing that I could reapply myself to, and I kept coming back to marketing related technology, and the AI opportunity was too big to miss. I felt so. Here I am, and we are currently working with several different clients across lots of different verticals, from B2B to SaaS products to B2C marketing, and running a lot of training sessions and doing a lot of AI consultancy with marketing teams and specifically PR agencies as well. So a few strings to our bow already.
Mm. I'd definitely love to dig in more to how you grew a company from about 5 to 80 people, but that's not what we're here for today. So that would be another conversation for another time.
Sure.
But but thinking about AI, and naturally, probably everybody watching this has used AI, or maybe even not knowingly used AI at some point over the past year. It's everywhere now. It's part of not just the work that we do, but day-to-day life. How are you using it, kind of more specifically in the marketing field?
Well, I'd say my general approach to AI,
Mm,
I've moved it from
mm,
being a pure sort of area of experimentation to actually part of the infrastructure of what I do. Um, and it's really part of how my work gets done now in most cases. But I think the kind of the fundamental principle for me is using AI as a thinking partner. So I do a lot of strategic work, and I work with businesses to dig into their marketing strategies and performance, and then to re-strategize, and come up with roadmaps as to how to improve marketing performance. But my main focus is how can I actually produce a better quality of work, better output, better depth, um, broader scope of stuff, that my clients wouldn't get otherwise. And so far, that's paying off because I'm noticing that my relationships with clients are lasting longer and longer. I'm getting project extensions, etc., and so it seems to be working for me.
mm. I love the language that you're using there as well. I just really want to touch upon that because you mentioned partner several times, or a thinking
Mm.
partner of AI. I really, really like that way of thinking about it. What do you think an organization needs to do before they use AI to be ready to use that as a partner?
I think a fundamental understanding of the basics
Mhm,
of how AI works.
mhm,
I always say that AI is like a sophisticated parrot. It will talk to you, it will give you answers, but it doesn't necessarily completely understand the information it's giving you. It's not a human level of thinking yet, at least.
mm,
So having an understanding of how LLMs actually work, I think, is really important to then enable you to approach it in the right way. Um, and understanding the problem that you're trying to solve, because there's so much hype around AI. Everyone's talking about it. Everyone's talking about automations related to AI. Everyone's talking about agents and agentic AI. And it's almost like throwing the kitchen sink at stuff, saying, well, we've got to adopt this. We've got to adopt this technology,
mm,
otherwise we're going to fall behind the curve. And not saying that that's necessarily inherently the wrong way of thinking about things,
mm,
because yes, adopting the technology as it evolves is really important, but understanding where it's going to be best suited to your organization and taking a step back and understanding the processes and the operational processes that you're trying to improve and the issues that you're trying to resolve using that technology is really important. You might find, if you take that step back and do that digging, that it's actually the process that's got a problem in the first place. So trying to throw a piece of technology at it to fix it still won't fix it.
I'd like to just delve a little bit deeper into that. Where have you seen some of the best successes of using AI? And then conversely, off the back of that, maybe we'll do a quick pause in between, but where have you seen organizations lack in their use of AI to solve a challenge?
Okay, so I might disappoint a few people here, but I'm not going to start talking about really complex agentic AI systems and things like that. They have their place, but for me, one of the biggest successes and the thing that I consistently use AI for is AI note taking. And then what you do with the transcript of that call, if you want to call with someone, what you do with that afterwards has been a game changer for me because obviously it means that you're not having to focus on writing down a load of notes and action points as well as focusing on the conversation. But B, it also gives the complete context of that conversation to your LLM, which you can then feed in. And building that context with as many sources of information as possible is the key to getting the best out of LLMs. So for me, one of my workflows, which works really well for me, and this works really well on strategy projects in particular, auditing projects, etc., is to use the project feature in ChatGPT or Claude, and then really fill those projects with as much context as possible. And that means meeting transcripts, it means data, it means reports, it means strategy documents, etc. And you building that context to the level where the AI completely understands the background, it understands the nuances, and you then know that you've got a solid platform to work from. The other thing that I use it a lot for is in sort of auditing projects. So I kind of combine automation in tools that already exist and existed from a long time, like Screaming Frog, for example, automating crawls, automating report generation, automating those reports being sent into an LLM, which is already pre-prompted and pre-trained on the project, and then really accelerating the level of analysis that we can do and how quickly those reports can come together. Has been a big one for me. So I managed to produce sort of an 80-page SEO audit in half the time that it would have otherwise taken me to do that before.
That's a really big stat to have as well, just to talk about halving the amount of time that you spend on something. Do you think organizations are kind of adopting AI more for time saving now, or do you think there's probably still a bit of a way to go on that?
I think it really depends on the area. I think as I mentioned before, there are some things that I do where it doesn't actually save me time, but it actually gives me a better result and a bigger depth of results. Now, other areas really does save me time, and that's where the agentic thing comes in really for me. So even it could be something as simple as using ChatGPT agent mode to go out and do a light content audit of, let's say, your client versus a bunch of competitors, give it the criteria, give it a detailed enough prompt so it knows what it's looking for. And it will produce a mini content audit for you in a fraction of the time that it would take to do it yourself.
And I think one of the things we see regularly is not only do you save time from this, but also the accuracy of your information improves if you're using some kind of automation tool rather than sitting there churning out the report yourself. Are you seeing more accurate information flow through organizations? Are you seeing it help and assist decision making in better ways as well?
I am seeing that, but again, it's all down to how you approach it, because it's quite easy to set up these automated processes to rely on AI to do a lot of the legwork for you, even in the way that I just described then. But without the right level of human intervention and sort of critical planning and thinking in the first place, you can quite easily get to a point where you've got a load of output, and you're then having to unpick things because you're not actually as involved as you should be in the process. And I still find myself falling into that trap sometimes, where you've got a mountain of stuff to get through. You try and approach it in a way that is human in the loop led, but quite often you have to kind of take a pause and say, oh, hang on a minute, am I actually understanding exactly what this output is saying? Is this good enough? Is this answering the question of the brief? and have to constantly check in.
Mm.
And I would
Mm.
say having those checkpoints, especially when you're doing bigger pieces of
Hmm.
work, is really important.
I just want to go back to that point on human intervention because I think that's really important. The AI bot and the human working well together. Do you think there are any kind of telltale signs when you're using AI that actually this is the best point to get the human back involved?
Well, I mean, there is a general principle that a lot of people have heard of called the AI sandwich, which basically shows that there's a human first, then there's the AI work in the middle, the meat of the sandwich, and then there's a human at the end. So it's a very simple, it's a simplified way of thinking about it. So it's got to have human thinking and planning at the start, enough context and prompting, detailed prompting and information to enable the AI to do
Mm.
its work, and then heavy checking, vetting, editing, proof check,
Mm.
all of that sort of stuff um, at the end. Um, but if you're doing a longer, more iterative process, as I mentioned before,
Mm.
having those checkpoints, it's not as simple as that. It's not as simple as one
Mm.
human input, one AI sort of
Mm.
thinking and output, and then human intervention. Having those checkpoints along the way is really important, and it really depends. This how specific that is really depends on the nature of the task and the complexity of the task and what you're trying to do.
Yeah. And I think kind of now moving on more towards kind of some of the limitations of it. Um, where have you seen things go wrong with AI for organizations previously, and what have you and that organization in particular learned from that experience and improved next time round?
I think there's the obvious one about overusing AI for content generation. So it then becomes blatantly
Mhm.
obvious when content has been produced by AI. And
Mm.
I mean, I've been
Yeah.
so involved in AI generated content for so long. I can tell it a mile off, and it actually really begins to frustrate me and annoy me when I see
Mm.
those signs. And having that heavy reliance on um, not having enough human intervention is a
Mm.
problem in that kind of content creation context. And I actually been working recently with a few organizations to help improve that process, either through using third-party tools, and there's nothing wrong with using third-party tools to help do that, other than creating your own system using just a standard LLM like ChatGPT or Claude or whatever. But then also creating those systems whereby you have handoff points where you create a brief, AI assists in creating that brief, then there's human intervention. Then AI then starts building a skeleton of the content. Then an editor will come in and fill in the details, um, and a kind of content flow like that. And then one of the other big things really is the structure and the basic strategy behind AI, which would totally be resolved by an AI policy, both internally and externally, but most importantly internally, um, putting up the guardrails and really establishing a process of how that organization uses AI, because there are so many teams now still who go off and they use their own personal ChatGPT accounts to do stuff. There's no formal process. There's no formalized way of accessing the LLMs. There's no formalized way of accessing context around a particular project. So really important to put those guardrails up, to have that policy, and to ensure everyone understands how you should be working with AI.
And mentioning policies there, I mean, there's probably a lot of people watching this thinking, "Oh my God, another policy, another bit of regulation that we have to adhere to." Is there anything that you can share that kind of hopefully makes people feel a little bit calmer about introducing another policy?
It doesn't have to be complex at all. I mean, there are templates out there.
Yeah,
I have a template that I can share with people if they want to get in touch.
yeah,
It starts
yeah.
simple really, and it really is around just those basic protections that's going to protect the organization, both from a
Mhm.
legal standpoint and from a quality of work output standpoint, the privacy standpoint as well, obviously. And it can be as simple as a one-page document really,
Mm. Mm.
with those guidelines as to how you access LLMs, which LLMs the company allows to be used, what purposes they're used for, and then anything else around that process, really.
Just also want to think about, we've spoken a lot about content creation using AI. If you want to get started and start using it for content creation a bit more, like what would you advise? What are your top tips?
Um, Well, if you're just getting started with AI, I would say start by understanding the fundamentals. Obviously, there's room to experiment, and I know through my own journey, and I imagine most other people's journeys, is you get very excited by what you see the output being right from the very
Mm,
start. But if you're not used to, and if you don't understand the telltale signs of AI generated slop
mm,
output, then it's not really going to be helpful for you. So I would
mm,
say, yes, start by experimenting and messing around and have fun,
yeah.
but also understand the fundamentals. Do a basics course. There's the OpenAI foundational course that you can do. Anthropic does another one. It's only like a couple of hours worth of training to get you the sort of the basics, the fundamentals there, to get you thinking in a specific
Mm.
way.
In touching on that, what are your predictions for kind of AI in 2026 and beyond?
Um, okay, so I think agentic workflows are obviously going to continue to evolve. Um, so AI is going to be able to have more autonomy. There's going to be better orchestration of tasks across different tool sets. So I think there are going to be systems that are more effective at sort of managing workflows across different tools, which will then enable great efficiency in a lot of marketing-based tasks in
Mm,
particular. But essentially, you're still going to have experts, expertise, human expertise, controlling that process and orchestrating that process,
mm,
basically. There's out of necessity, I think there's going to be a need for more efficient models, LLM models, because at the moment, for example, in ChatGPT, you can choose thinking mode versus quick mode or whatever it's called, um, fast mode, I think. And of course, everyone's going to want to use the thinking mode because I think they're going to get a better result. But the intensity and the cost that is applied to that when it's used is unsustainable, I think, and that's why for me, that's the main driver of this talk around there being an AI bubble and it potentially bursting. It's like, well, how much longer can these companies sustain the cost of actually running this technology and also source the energy required to run it properly? So there's got to be a few changes in the efficiency of models out there, I think. So we'll probably see more rapid evolutions of
mhm.
OpenAI, Anthropic, Gemini, etc. models moving forward.
Is there anything else you'd like to share kind of with the audience or anything on AI that kind of you haven't touched upon today that you think would be relevant to people?
Um, I would say, like, if you're feeling like you're behind the curve and you're relatively new to all this, I still don't think there's a need to kind of panic and worry about like being left behind completely. So the fact that you're actually watching a podcast like this or watching a video like this and interested in how AI is being applied and how it's evolving is a good sign. So just keep doing that,
Yeah.
um, and find means and ways of uncovering real use cases of AI. I have found myself in the trap before of being I'm really interested in what's happening in the world of AI and who's doing what, and what certain governments' policies are, and all this sort of thing. But actually, a lot of that content, as interesting as it is, my time would probably be better served actually understanding the true application of the AI, digging into some examples, maybe going on N8N and looking at some templates and how they work and how they plug into LLMs, etc., and truly understanding that practical application. And content on that is a little bit few and far between at the moment, but yeah, don't allow yourself to get sort of immersed and feel lost in the wealth of content that's out there. If you double down on stuff that's actually practically going to help you, that's going to be the best way path forward.
Mm. Well, it's been really great to chat. I think, as a lot of people know, AI is something that's very close to our hearts at Datacove. I've actually been working in AI since 2005. It was boring. It was called statistics back then. No one really cared, but it's integrated into a lot of the models that we build on the customer, on the marketing side, and also we're doing a lot more agentic work now as we hit 2026 and seeing that shift ourselves. Naturally, for anybody that's watching, thinking, "Oh my God, I kind of want to get started with all of this, but I'm a bit hesitant, I'm a bit reluctant, not sure where to go," get in touch with us. Tom, I'm sure will be happy to chat to you as well, and we can put you in contact. So if there's anything that you've heard today, actually, that really resonates with where I want to go this year as an organization. We can definitely make that connection happen and get all of you working in a more automated way and a more accurate way, hopefully, with AI, but also with a human touch centered around it too. So thanks very much, Tom, and we'll definitely catch up again very soon.
Thanks for having me, Jeremy. Enjoyed it. Cheers.
Brilliant. Thank you.